I think people, with all the noise around the political discussion today, forget that there was a huge leap forward with the passage of that tax reform. And I know that we at Melois, in discussions with our clients, both in the boardrooms and management, there is just an awful lot of confidence right now.
So you see it. Yeah, that was my point. You're in the private sector now. The benefits of what you were trying to do, you're actually experiencing. You know what they say? Someone once said, I think, elections have consequences, and don't mess with me, Aaron, I think is what someone said to you. Or did he get your name right when he was saying don't mess with me? Or,
he did. But
I don't know. He won, but now somebody else won, and this is all happening now, right?
This has had consequences, and I think,
elections have consequences.
We have certainly.
In this case, it's 4% GDP growth.
Right, and unemployment below 4%. And, we are seeing, I think, the results of the kind of economic policy, fiscal policy, at least on the tax front, that many of us have been arguing for a long time, to unleash the private sector.
Where I'm leading you on all this was just a prelude to November. And whether all this stuff that seems to be positive, you were majority leader. You used to whip people. You used to try to figure out how to keep the House majority for Republicans.
Right.
So you should know about this. Where are we? What do you think is going to happen?
First of all, remember what happened to me. I'm not going to put much stock into
in your predictions,
right?
Or in what you know,
in these polls right now. But I will say, remember where we are today. The narrative can change, and President Trump's got the ability to change that narrative on a dime,
up good or bad.
And and it used to be that we've got, I think, 41 days until the election. And it used to be that was a pretty short amount of time. Now it is an eternity.
Right.
We will forget.
How many tweets?
Right. We will forget what we're talking about today, probably 2 days from now. So I would just be hesitant to say, hey, we know what will happen. I do think that, if you look back in history, there's only been 3 times in which the president's party has actually picked up seats in the midterm. And in recent times, it's 98 and 2001, and there are reasons back then. And I do think what's playing out now, whether it's Kavanaugh or whether it's something that the left is going to do, it could make them the issue. And so I just think we all ought to sort of let's see what will happen. On the whole, and
not to go down the Kavanaugh rabbit hole, but you think you think that it's a mistake?
Well, let me just say this about Kavanaugh. First of all, serious allegations need to be they need to be heard, and so I do think that Chairman Grassley and the Republicans are doing the right thing.
Do you think it's not a mistake for the president to have made some of the comments that he's made publicly about this?
I think the president should remain on the sidelines on this discussion and let Congress and the Senate do its thing. He's been somewhat restrained, and there were a few tweets I guess he just felt like he needed to release and comments made. But
so is it? I didn't want to. You called it a rabbit hole. So it's not the economy, stupid. Is that is that fair to say? The expression is it is the economy, stupid. But in this case, it's not the economy.
This is why I think that the election is going to be a lot closer than what people are saying, because the economy is so good.
So then you're saying that the GOP will do better than people think?
I do. I really do. And I think what I'm seeing is, and we had a discussion last time on the set about suburban Republicans. This is the vulnerability. The kind of district that I used to represent, that district is in a toss-up category now. Never.
But let me ask, is this a referendum on the president, or is this something very different?
Well, this is where this next 41 days is going to be important, because if the narrative changes, and I think that the Democrats, they can overplay their hand, and then they can make this election a referendum on them. And that's where the risk is for them. If they do that, then I think Republicans will even do better than what I'm thinking they're going to do to begin with.
The House is weird because everybody's got their own. I mean, they say all politics are local, but with the House, everybody's got their own congressman that they know, and it could. They could register some dissatisfaction with President Trump based on their own congressman, but there's 400. How many of them?
There's 435.
And they're every 2 years, and unlike the Senate, where people come up, not every election.
So Republicans like what's going on fiscally. They like this economy. I think even independents and maybe some Democrats.
But the tax bill's still not popular, Eric. Tax bill's still not popular.
But the benefits of the tax policy is what is keeping people optimistic. And whether it's small business or large, certainly we've got a strong economic environment right now. So that people, I don't think, and if you look at these polls over the last several cycles, there has been bias against Republicans.
Although the weird thing in the polls is that people think that they haven't benefited personally from the tax cuts, but then consumer confidence is so strong. It's weird to try and...
all this counterintuitive disconnect. It's really hard to make sense of it all.
Yeah.
But again, we've entered such an age where it's like 24/7 input. You don't know where the narrative's going in the next 40 days.
We're going to continue this conversation in a moment, but one question just on the comments that the president made yesterday, because it's been the headline of the day around globalism and what he said specifically to the UN. Clearly trying to play to his base, but do you think that that plays with the Republican Party writ large, this idea that the United States is not planning or wants to be a leader globally?
Well, there's no question there's been a turn back towards a nationalistic type of mantra.
Well, that's his mantra. What I'm asking you is, do you believe that your party follows that same mantra? And I would contend to you that it doesn't.
I would contend, I would agree with you, and let's take trade, for instance. I think that the president has a much shorter leash than some think in Washington, because depending on how this election goes, I know that many of my former colleagues are looking at this NAFTA issue, for instance. Canada is the #1 export market for, I think, like 36 states. There's no way that I think you can get a Mexico-only deal through without Canada.